Hi, welcome to Homefront Harmony. I'm Stevie Dahl, your host, and I started this podcast as the daughter of a 21-year Navy veteran and military spouse, knowing what military families go through during service and after service, and wanting to contribute in some way to help make your life better and easier. So please join me, and let's find success beyond the military together. So basically, I'm living a legacy. So I am the daughter of a 21-year Navy veteran. My father, always in his service, was helping others. He helped those who served under him to move up and have full-on careers. And he'd help military spouses who were needing work. He would talk to his connections that he dealt with because he was in supply. So I witnessed it my whole life. It didn't come into context until I became an adult. And then I saw what they go through, where military spouses struggled finding jobs, where veterans who were coming out of service were trying to find work or things to do and adjust to a completely different world. And it really is a completely different world. So for me, my passion was coming in here and giving them a helping hand, guiding them, giving them some points, some keys to make it better. Because sometimes I feel like they get forgotten, and I don't want that to happen. There's some areas, some groups that focus on veterans and those outside their service or those while they do serve. And it's great. And once the pomp and circumstance is over, then it's gone. But it doesn't happen all the time, and it doesn't happen for the full military family, for the kids whose parent is being deployed, for the spouse who's trying to maintain the house while everything is going on during a move or a transition out of service. It's a whole picture. And if the whole family isn't able to get done what needs to be done, that's more weight and stress on the service member themselves. So my goal of this is to help everyone in the family get some helpful information, get some strength, get to know, make life a little easier for them. In all honesty, that's going to kind of vary from family to family. Because each one has their own individual things. Some of the most common problems that I see, of course, are transition into the civilian work world, different language, resume writing, etc. When we talk about financial, it's a different ballpark when you get into the civilian world and what you're going to do with your finances. A lot of what you do in the military is set up by your service, so you don't have to think about it. You don't really think about things like buying a house. So understanding how those processes work are kind of areas that we look into it. And I think a lot of times we are constantly scared to talk about mental health. Now, I am a girl who was raised positive thoughts bring positive action, so I tend to take a very positive take on everything. But I also knew at the age of 9, when my dad left the house, he might not come back. People don't realize those kind of things impact military families and what they're dealing with. And so I want to make sure we're having the open discussions so that we can make it less of a problem and find more solutions. Well, I love to bring in people who actually understand and know the finance world. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I am a financial advisor. I can tell you when my father got out of his service and he moved into the civilian world, he and my mom had a lot of stuff they had to kind of figure out to deal with and set up. Yes, he had a 401k from his service. Yes, he had things set up. But again, buying a home, breaking down some of the steps of what he needed to do, understanding the best way to invest some of those funds that he had once he transitioned out of service. These are questions they don't understand. And quite honestly, my sister and I, when we were raised, we didn't understand financial best practices to the level we should have that we do now as adults. So it's just kind of helping people see what they can do, how they can do, and make it a more successful transition for them and not make them feel like they stepped out into an abyss. I think that a lot of people don't understand the level of what happens when you transition out of service. You keep some of the habits that you had when you were in service. It doesn't change when you transition out necessarily that way, but there is a newfound freedom. There is a newfound way of handling stuff in the world that you hadn't had to answer those questions before. The military just handled the way they did. And you want to know best ways to handle it. You want to know what you think is going to be best for you in that aspect. So trying to get those answers is key. So my career has been an interesting one. I was an actress in my younger days, and you can see how well that worked out, And then I ended up in the corporate world. And one of the aspects I got out of my job in the corporate world was actually handling a specialty hiring program for service members and their family members themselves. And it really initiated in me a passion, and it let me see something that I wanted to do stronger than I've had in a long time. And then when we lost my father in October of 21, and I heard stories of people talking about how he helped them have careers, how they wouldn't have had the naval career if it hadn't been for them, how they wouldn't have done things if it hadn't been for them, I realized that the legacy is living on in me, and now it's my turn. So the opportunity to take what I practice, but in a focused practice at work, because it is a specific category we look to, we are focused on careers, and be able to expand it to encompass all the areas that affect service members and their family, was too good of an opportunity to pass up. I don't only want to do this, I need to do this. We have a website that is set up to support service members and their families, and you can reach out to get more information. We are a staffing agency. We have offices all over the place. So we get you in connected with someone to help you. They're going to help you look at your resume and find the right ways to write it. They're going to help you with interview tips. You haven't interviewed in a long time. They've got some extra special things in there. They're going to help you with dress, how you should appropriately dress for an interview or for a job itself. All these little aspects to it that people don't realize come into play. And then they're going to get you and take your resume and start marketing you to clients that they have that they know would want the skills that you have to offer. So basically, you go from being out there on your own just looking at opportunities online to having someone in your corner helping fight for you and guide the way. There are opportunities for this to be taught during the transition phase. The government has gotten really great. Department of Defense has started a lot of programs. SkillBridge is one of them, trying to help with the transition itself. The problem is not everybody realizes they're available, so not everybody has access to them. DoD started a program called the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. I adore them. They are fantastic. Their whole goal is about helping military spouses in the workforce get jobs, be able to do what they need to do. And most of their staff are military spouses themselves, which I absolutely love. And that's a program that when my father was in service wasn't around. So my mother and several other women I know who were spouses as well had to find their own careers and their own jobs. The fact that there's opportunity now provided by DoD to help them with education, to help them in their career search is huge, but not everybody knows it's there. This is all about educating, getting them to know what's available to them, how to get to it, where it is, what's it at, and helping answer questions they may have. I think people are still a little, for lack of a better word, gun shy about mental health, whether they feel it is a weakness to deal with it or whether it is just an uncomfortable topic to discuss. Pure candor, all of us deal with some sort of level of it. Some of us have smaller battles than others do. And quite frankly, when you go through phenomenal events like a world pandemic, we're all dealing with different levels of items such as PTSD. So it's not that it doesn't affect us in the world. It's that we get concerned to have those discussions, and we need to stop making it uncomfortable. We need to stop being concerned about talking about it. We need to make sure we talk about it. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to have a concern. It's okay to deal with anxiety. It's okay to deal with PTSD. Let's figure out the ways to help those who are battling that so that they can have a more fruitful life as well. Because quite frankly, I have witnessed several people deal with anxiety and depression, and they don't deserve the battle that they're fighting. So I did not serve. I didn't have that honor or that privilege. But I can tell you that my mindset is very different than most women like me. And I am not the overly emotional sharing woman. Now, my sister is more capable to be open with her emotions. It's not that I don't have them. I just feel there's a time and a place to have them. It is something that I deal with. And for years, I felt if I cried, I was weak. And it was a problem for me. And I didn't talk to people about it. And ironically, the one person who got me talking about it was my father. We were having a conversation in the garage, and I started crying for no reason. And I got upset, and I said to him, I don't even know why I'm crying. And he got this little smirk on his face, and he laughed, and he said, well, baby doll, it's 'cause you're a girl, and you can't help it sometimes. And it was the realization that, you know what, we all have chemical makeups in our body that make us react and feel different ways. And it's okay that we don't react and feel the same way as everybody else. It's okay that something hits us harder than everybody else. But if we're not willing to talk about it and make it okay to have those conversations, people are going to hide, and it's going to make it worse. And you need that freedom. And I tell you, there are plenty of people I know who serve in the military who come out of it, and they got some stuff they got to figure out in their heads. I was fortunate that when my father came back after his he did 2 years in Vietnam. The man did 2 tours, and he actually came back okay mentally. And he's one of the rare few that did. And those that did not come back okay are still heroes. They still served, they still fought. And by God, we need to support them and help them work through what's going on in their minds. They've earned that right. I know my company in the past few years have placed a few thousand vets and spouses since we really launched the program to go. And that's because they are passionate and believe about it as well and see the talent of the individuals coming in the door and give them that shot to it. This isn't me personally doing anything. This is trying to find an avenue, a road to connect the right people together to get where it's done. I don't have a degree or a certificate. I'm not this person who can fix everything. I just honestly believe there's a solution to every problem. And for me, this problem's personal, and I want to get it solved. Financial stress is huge in a military family. So you understand, if they're still in active service and they get deployed, the military spouse at home is trying to maintain the same house while their spouse is risking their physical safety to serve their country and in something they believe. So if the kitchen sink breaks, the spouse is dealing with it. If the car breaks, the spouse is dealing with it. The costs and everything, yes, the service member is still earning their check, but having the ability to have the spouse have their identity, have their career, be able to contribute to the family in that way is so big. It helps so much. And then that takes that stress off of the service member. They get to be proud of their spouse and support their spouse instead of just the spouse supporting them. So it's a huge dynamic that sometimes gets missed. There's so many programs out there that are available to people that they have the option to have access to things for the rest of their life if they need it to be. They're going to vary based on the program. Some of them are centered around during active service. Some of them are centered on after the service is over and where you're going to go from there. I think the biggest key that I try to tell people to understand is it doesn't matter when the service member transitions out of the military life. You never transition out of the military community. No matter where I go, when people find out my father served, I have instant family of people, whether it was the same branch or not, because you never lose that unity of that military community. And I think that that's something the rest of the world doesn't get to see. And it's one of the most amazing parts, that loyalty, that dedication, and that just genuine care. So first of all, I think the biggest key is that people will feel like when they step out of the military life, they're just by themselves in an abyss and there's no one around. There is still a team. There is still a unit. It just looks a little different than what you're used to. So don't think you're alone in any way, shape, or form. I do this because this is what I'm passionate about. I do this because this is my living legacy. If I can help them, if I can give them one minute chance to help in some way in their life, then I'm going to be happy with what I've done. I love being able to see people succeed. I love supporting our heroes, and as I call them, our heroes on the home front, because spouses are the heroes on the home front. I love seeing them and knowing that they can have that full life, that American dream that they want. Sometimes when you leave that military service, there's so much going on, you can't see where you want to go. That's why you need people like me to help you. And there are a lot of people like me here to help you. All right, well, first of all, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and like, follow, check it all out. We are on YouTube. We are on Spotify. We are on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We are going to be everywhere. So check us out, follow us, see what we're talking about. We're going to be providing ways for you to reach out to us and give us your topics and items you would like us to discuss so we can bring in the guests you need to hear as well. So join us for the journey, I guess.